All right, everybody. We're revisiting our favorite conservative e-girl, Brett Cooper. Now, what's always really interesting about covering this video, this lady's videos, is that she has a very interesting audience. Now, it used to be, prior to something that happened recently, it used to be that she had an audience of conservative gooners and a few well-meaning conservatives that just wanted to hear, her talk about the politics that they agree with, right? Here's the thing, though. Recently, she announced that she's getting married. I believe she's 21 as well. She does this marriage and dating advice videos, but she's a 21-year-old who's only recently gotten into her first relationship, and she's getting married after I don't know, 6 months of knowing the guy, I'm sure. This is also shown in her statistics, but one of my friends is friends with somebody who is a full-on conservative, just straight up watches Ben Shapiro and conservative media, and he watched, I should say, Brett Cooper, though he stopped recently. My friend's friend, by the way. I don't know this guy, by the way. He's just a random, his roommate or his roommate's friend or something like that. Some IRL person that he knows. He said that he stopped watching Brett Cooper after she announced she was getting married. And if you look at her statistics for her socials, the same pattern seems to have shown itself pretty consistently throughout her fan base. A lot of people are upset after she's announced she's no longer single, because the fact is that a lot of, especially these conservative political women, conservative men, as a principled belief, only view women as objects, as tools, as something to ogle at, to own, to use for sex and baby making and housework, and that's it, right? They don't really value the thought process or reasoning of women. They are willing to accept and even give congratulations and affection towards women that have basically fallen in line, but they don't value the individual thought process of a woman. They don't respect the personhood, creative value, etc. of a woman or any women, even if they agree with them. So for a lot of these guys, the only real value that Brett Cooper offered over a figure like Ben Shapiro or any other Daily Wire goon was that they could goon to her videos. And so that when these conservative gooners kind of lost that fantasy they can have of a imaginary relationship with her, or the idea that she's already having sex with another dude is kind of ruining it for them, they just dip right out and go watch another conservative content creator. The same pattern has happened a million times now. Random, attractive woman blows up making, anti-woman conservative content and then falls off the face of the earth after she turns, 25, Because the internet thinks that, 25 is when a woman's become old, right? If she's not prepubescent, conservatives don't want her. So, yeah. I imagine we're already seeing the beginning of that pattern for Brett Cooper, which I think is quite hilarious, I must say. But she put out a new video that I just couldn't resist covering, because it's got the most insane title I have ever seen. Our woke justice system is backwards. That's right. Apparently, the justice system of the United States of America, which is unanimously agreed upon by sociologists, criminologists, etc., to be literally racially discriminatory towards black people and non-white people across the board, outright claiming that the justice system is woke. Okay. Let's see what's up.
Back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. So there are a lot of scary things about the Biden administration, in my opinion. The economy, the sniffing children, Kamala, just in general, her laugh, everything about her.
Something that conservatives have actually started doing lately that's honestly, brazenly, aggressive and, shameless is to make the focus of their culture war attack on the left to be for a thing that the left is not doing very explicitly in the current headlines. So, for example, right now, all of the mainstream economists, all of the main sources of info you would get about the economy from are saying the economy is booming like never before under Biden's economic reforms. So what position are the right taking? That the economy is worse than ever under Biden and we're suffering. Despite it being so provably untrue that if you search Biden economy and look up news on Google, all the results are why Biden's economy is so good but his approval rating is so low. Why people don't like Biden's economy despite it being so good. Those are all the results that come up. Because that's the reality of the situation, and conservatives have gotten so brazen. They're like, nope. Hey, nope. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Look at us. The economy is bad. Trust us. It's worse than ever. It's worse than ever. Trust us. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. I've noticed that across the board, conservatives have been hardcore pushing the economy is horrible under Biden talking point when it's just objectively not true. But even Gen Z, Democrat, leaning left leaning Gen Z is buying that narrative, which is really sad. What was the other one? Yeah. Conservatives right now have started out of nowhere reposting the image from 2016 where the comedian Kathy Griffin posed with a fake Trump decapitated head. Literally a day after a conservative psychopath went viral for decapitating his father and going on a rant about how wokeness is evil, Texas needs to secede, and federal agents need to be killed on sight for his pro-conservative America First agenda. Their response to that was to say, hey, remember 6 years ago when Kathy Griffin did that with a fake head? But then to not mention the story that happened a day ago where one of their guys did that to his own father for real and streamed it on YouTube. Genuinely despicable how shameless these people have gotten with their propaganda. Whatever is happening right now in reality that is the result of their horrible policy or behavior, they just smile and say the opposite is happening and provide no evidence to support their claim,
But to me, the scariest part of the Biden administration and the modern left in general is the way that they exploit the justice system. Because the justice system in our country right now is no longer about justice. It is about politics.
Hold on one sec. Okay, so apparently our justice system is woke and the left takes advantage of it. I had no idea. Explain this to me, Brett Cooper.
And political gain and sending a message to the other side. We talked about this last week when we discussed Taylor Swift's stalker and how he was arrested multiple times and immediately released back onto the streets, even though he is obviously a threat because, they prioritize criminals. They prioritize mental health and rehabilitation rather than getting dangerous people off the street because that is what.
Okay. So this is stupid and awful on numerous levels. This is insane on multiple levels, okay? All right. So point one is the idea that if our justice system focused on rehabilitation, that would be bad and somehow would result in more crime, when every country that engages in that form of a justice system has less crime, lower recidivism than the United States, and overall just a better criminal justice system that serves its purpose better than America's does. Not to mention, that is totally her room, by the way. Yeah, that's a set that she's made to look like her room so that it doesn't look like she is a, paid propagandist streaming from a studio with 10 other dudes who do the same shit as her, and are paid millions to do so. Anyway, yeah, also the idea that in America, where we have a famously god-awful prison system that is focused on profit and not rehabilitation, what's the term for it? Retaliation instead. America is one of the few first world countries that still does the death penalty. How can she claim our criminal justice system is all about, like, mental health and rehabilitation and letting criminals go and babying them? What kind of fantasy world do her, like, actual teenager viewers live in? I'm pretty sure this is content for, like, young conservative teen boys who are jacking off and young conservative women who, like, have no idea how the real world works. Like, you really have to have no idea how the real world works for this video to, like, vibe with you. I wonder if I know the story she's about to, like, use for this claim. There's a recent story about a lady who murdered her boyfriend, who pressured her into smoking marijuana, despite her history of mental health issues having to do with anxiety and whatnot. And I think schizophrenia as well. And, like, he pressured her into smoking more and more weed. She had a weed-induced, like, episode, which is not unheard of, by the way. And this has been backed up by medical professionals and the court. And she was let off with community service despite murdering her boyfriend at the time. But all the evidence showed that, A, she was in a literal uncontrollable psychosis, and B, the reason for said psychosis was she had drugs pushed on her she didn't want to continue to consume, and said person who pushed the drugs on her was the person who ended up dead. I have a feeling, just a little bit of a feeling, she's going to end up using that story, because that's really been big in the news right now, and the right's been using it as, like, an example of how, like, feminism has ruined the justice system.
They care about. They don't care about the safety of their citizens. They care about that. And sadly, this type of behavior in prioritizing criminals and not actually seeking justice has become incredibly common across the country. And today, I think we have the grossest example of this.
Like, she's just saying this shit. It's actually crazy. Like, conservative pundits can just say the most batshit insane stuff like, our criminal justice system prioritizes criminals. And just people eat it up like slop. It's genuinely embarrassing.
Corrupt and flawed system that I've ever seen, and the hypocrisy that follows it. We're gonna talk about that today. Before we do, though, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring that.
Notice how the conclusion is still the same as the conclusion as most people have, so that she can have that broad normie appeal. She's basically saying what most people agree with, that our criminal justice system is corrupt and awful, but now she's trying to talk about it like it's a given that the reason our criminal justice system is awful and corrupt, something most people agree with, is because of wokeness. This is normie bait content to the max. She relies heavily on propagandizing to a very lowest common denominator audience.
Notification bell so that you never miss a comment section upload. All right, so 2 months ago, we all sat here and we talked about the congressional staffer and the gay sex scandal that he was involved in. And if you missed that, good for you, because I would not wish viewing that video on anyone, not even my worst enemy. But basically, a young congressional staffer filmed themselves having sex in one of the Senate hearing rooms. Horrifying video, horrifying pictures, again, don't recommend. The staffer, who is gay, resigned, and then he said that he was being...
Remember, guys, it's obviously horrifying because it was gay sex. Conservatives love to very much emphasize how disgusting and revolting they find gay sex to be. Specifically gay sex.
Attacked for his sexuality and who he loved. That this was a baseless attack, all because of his sexuality. Of course, I called it in the video. And when I did my episode on that, I also said, just watch. They won't go after him. They won't charge him. They wouldn't dare because of what he said in his statement. Because this is an attack on his sexuality. And guess what? They didn't go after him. And that news broke last night. This is from Forbes. Police won't charge staffer allegedly featured in explicit Senate video. They closed the case. Nothing to see here. Here's their statement. For now, we are closing the investigation into the facts and circumstances surrounding a sex video that was recorded inside of the Hart Senate's office building the morning of Wednesday, December 13th. After consulting with federal and local prosecutors, as well as doing a comprehensive investigation and review of possible charges, it was determined that despite a likely violation of congressional policy, there is currently no evidence that a crime was committed. Although the hearing room was not open to the public at the time the congressional staffer involved had access to the room. The two people of interest were not cooperative, nor were the elements of any possible crimes met. The congressional staffer, who has since resigned from his job, exercised his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and refuse to talk to us. Our investigators are willing to review new evidence should any come to light. Oh, they didn't cooperate. We couldn't do anything. He didn't speak. We can't go after him. Oh no.
I mean, how often does a video go up of somebody having sex in a public location, even if it is illegal? How often does that video go up and then without any police reports happening because people witnessed it, does that end up getting charged? I get that it was illegal and everything. I get it, but the police have a lot on their plates. I mean, I was under the impression that the right, isn't it interesting how quickly the right goes from dick riding the police talking about how underfunded they are, how they need support, thin blue line, all that stuff, to now the police, the criminal justice system are corrupt and awful. I wonder how quickly we're going to go from her virtue signaling about Taylor Swift's stalker to her demonizing Taylor Swift for her, no doubt, future endorsement of Biden. Brett Cooper does not actually have opinions. Her job is to add a right-wing slant to whatever story is coming out right now, whatever the docket she has received from Daily Wire, higher up, right? She doesn't have values she's expressing here. There's no consistency that's meant to be had, right? It's just make a right-wing bent to whatever news story is coming out right now. Hey, something that you can make conservatives get upset about has happened. Convince them this is a trend that is going to lead to the fall of Western civilization.
He might have broken congressional policy, but we don't know. So they're not charging him because he technically had access to the room, so he wasn't trespassing. And maybe, possibly, he broke congressional policy, but they're not sure about that. Great, I'm so glad.
He wasn't trespassing, and no one got hurt. Are you literally, like, upset? Like, are you literally trying to say that gay sex in a government building where no one gets hurt or witnesses it and it just goes up on the internet should be, like, a high priority for the police to, like, put people in jail or prison? The only reason they're so fixated on this is because it was gay sex. They literally just want to be able to say gay sex has been, like deemed a crime in America for this one instance, right? They want to have that one W.
That you're so confident about what this congressional policy is. That makes me feel really great.
When there's no cops around, anything's legal.
Some people online were saying that even though they would like him to be charged, but then a George Washington University law professor.
Do they know the politics of the guy who made Gravity Falls? My favorite thing is when conservatives use memes from shows and media that, like, are either made by people who are very publicly, explicitly against their politics, or, like, the show or media itself directly makes fun of or goes against their own politics. Yeah, when the cops aren't around, everything is legal. That is how it works.
Professor jumped in and said, no, he could have been charged based on DC's code that covers lewd and indecent
Laws
behavior.
aren't magic.
But of course, the Capitol Police did not look into that. They didn't want to touch that. Guaranteed that they are simply too afraid to charge him because of the potential aftermath, the blow up that could happen, the accusations that they are, profiling and attacking gay people for just expressing.
I would love to be able to ask Brett Cooper, what are they afraid of then? Like, what is that fear of? Like, they're afraid of being called racist or bigoted or whatever it is. What is that? What does that lead to if they get called homophobic? Do they get, like, killed? Do they get fired? Like, what happens if the police get called homophobic for charging someone for a crime? If it did take place. I love when, like, YouTubers who are paid to push propaganda pretend like they know more than the police investigators and like the people who made the determination legally not to charge. Like, somehow she knows so much more about this than them, I guess.
Expressing themselves in public, because that's literally what he already did. He got ahead of them and said, you are doing this because you're bigoted, because I'm just expressing myself and who I love. I mean, it's laughable, but not shocking. Somebody commented and said they're setting some great standards. Now, Capitol Police, so true. And this tweet made an excellent point. He said, no charges for cocaine in the White House. No charges for filming gay sex in a Senate hearing room. Remember, this is the party that vowed to bring back decency and dignity back to Washington after some mean tweets. And a lot of people hit on that. Something decency is on the ballot. Another person said, man, all that decency.
Dude, I absolutely love that we're in 2024 and conservatives still try to say that the left is mad at Trump because of mean tweets. For those of you guys who don't know, back in 2016, 2015, anytime you'd criticize Trump because he wasn't president yet, you would criticize things he'd say he was going to do, he said he would do once he's president. And so you'd be like, okay, well, here's a tweet where Trump says that he is going to imprison his political rivals if he wins. And they'd say, you're really freaking out over mean tweets. And so over time, the conservative narrative became lefties are just mad at Trump over mean tweets. But then he became president, and you couldn't really make that claim anymore because people were very clearly mad about policy and things he was doing while president. And so that, like, talking point fell away for a while. I guess now that he's not president anymore, we're back to saying that the left hates Trump because of mean tweets again. Phenomenal.
That was promised. Yeah, you'll remember that tweet from Jill during the election? Decency is on the ballot. How'd that work out for you, Jill? Is decency actually in your White House? Does anybody actually still believe that? Like Jimmy Fallon on his show, saying Joe Biden is bringing class back to the White House.
Here he is. He's bringing class back. He's a classy guy, and you're bringing class back to...
I mean, Donald Trump literally ate, like, 100 McDonald's cheeseburgers at the Oval, like, office desk. Like, the dude would get, like, fast food delivered. Like... and, like, take photo ops with it. Like, he was, like, one of the least classy presidents ever, which is insane considering that his whole brand is that he's rich and lived in, like, a gold-plated, like, penthouse apartment in New York City. Like, and yet he is the least classy president we've had in recent memory. Like, Bush was literally more classy than him, unironically.
To the office, and I thought it was amazing that he did that.
Really? You actually believe that? I hope people do not. Like, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that my loved ones know that that does not exist anymore, that we are all on the same page. And if there's one thing that is important to me, it is the people that I love. And thanks to my friends at Pure Talk, they are not only...
How much of the video do you want to bet is going to be a sponsored ad this time? Last time we did a video from her, it was literally like a third of the video was a sponsored ad. Or was that might have been Paul Joseph Watson. Good chunk of it was just an ad.
Think the decency is still in the White House. Okay. Now, at the beginning, I mentioned how this story would be
it's
a
all
gross
a grift,
example
remember,
of hypocrisy
guys.
in our justice system. And I don't just mean the people who walked through the Capitol on January 6th were put in solitary confinement for over a year and have now been charged for years and years in federal prison. I was actually thinking of something
the narrative that the fucking insurrectionists on January 6th are these poor political prisoners. Oh, yeah, you can cry about them rotting. Obviously, she doesn't care at all about them. They're just political tools to these people. As soon as these people stop being valuable for any type of political, like, win, like, I absolutely love when Trump supporters act like they genuinely think Trump will pardon the January 6th rioters and insurrectionists if he wins. Do you know how many promises for pardons Trump made and never fulfilled? There were Trump supporters for a while that were actually mad about it, but they all fell back in line, as they always do. They always got to own the left, no matter what.
even more recent. Like how a small group of pro-lifers was found guilty by Biden's DOJ for peacefully protesting outside of a Nashville abortion clinic. Greg Price broke this story, and he said, breaking, 6 pro-life activists were just found guilty in federal court after being prosecuted by Biden's DOJ under the FACE Act for protesting outside of a Nashville abortion clinic. Here's a snippet of the protest which occurred on March 5th, 2021. For the crime of praying and singing hymns, these 6 activists now face a maximum of 11 years.
So we're pulling our evidence from a Twitter post from a person who has Twitter, whatever it's called, Twitter Blue. So this is clearly a right-wing propaganda account. Let's go ahead and look up what they were actually charged with. Pro-lifers charged by Biden DOJ. FACE Act. Here's what they were actually charged for. 6 activists convicted of illegally blocking abortion clinic in Tennessee. I believe this was the place, right? Nashville, Tennessee, yep. A Tennessee jury has convicted 6 anti-abortion protesters of violating federal laws after they blocked the entrance of a reproductive clinic outside of Nashville nearly 3 years ago. The jury's decision, handed down late Tuesday after a week-long trial, marks the latest development in a case that has been closely watched by conservative groups who have accused the federal government of unfairly targeting abortion opponents by using 1994 federal law designed to protect abortion clinics from obstruction and threats. Reproductive rights supporter Counter the law, known as Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, or the FACE Act, is more critical than ever in shielding abortion providers from violence now that the constitutional right to abortion has been revoked. At issue is a 2021 blockade held outside a reproductive health clinic in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, a town 17 miles east of Nashville, nearly a year before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The event was organized by anti-abortion supporters who used social media to promote and live stream actions that they hope would prevent the clinic from performing abortions, according to court documents. At the time, abortion was still legal in Tennessee. It is now currently banned in all stages of pregnancy under a law that has very narrow exemptions. Prosecutors say participants stationed themselves throughout the office building where Carafem Health Clinic was located, and later several began recording themselves leading a rescue, quote-unquote, a term commonly known among anti-abortion activists as dissuading women from obtaining an abortion. Prosecutors added that videos from that day showed people blocking the clinic's entrances and others attempting to engage with police as a delay tactic. Around 20 people attended the blockade, while a federal grand jury initially indicted 11 people who participated in the blockade last year. 6 were convicted on Tuesday. Those are Chester Gallagher, Paul Vaughn, Heather Idoni, Calvin Zastro, Coleman Boyd, and Dennis Green. They face up to 10.5 years of prison time and fines of up to $260,000. Nice! Sentencing hearings will take place July 2nd. Yeah, no, they just straight up broke the law. They were blocking the entrance to the abortion clinic to keep women from getting in. Isn't it nice how the way she frames it is like they were praying and singing hymns and they're going to prison for it? These people just lie to your face with a cheery smile and like a multi-million-dollar set. And, God, people just eat it up.
Peacefully protesting outside of a Nashville abortion clinic. Greg Price broke this story, and he said, breaking, 6 pro-life activists were just found guilty in federal court after being prosecuted by Biden's DOJ under the FACE Act for protesting outside of a Nashville abortion clinic. Here's a snippet of the protest, which occurred on March 5th, 2021. For the crime of praying and singing hymns.
Isn't it nice you got a YouTuber dude who can, like, Google the actual story behind this stuff and be like, here's what actually happened, and just call out the lies and the propaganda? It's nice. It's nice being able to have someone here to just shoot these lies down so you can consume this dog shit as like a form of a vicarious hate watching almost.
These 6 activists now face a maximum of 11 years in prison. I cannot explain to you the rage that this story fills me with. It is completely and utterly absurd. If you've been paying attention for the last 4 years, for what people get off easy, for what people are arrested, this should enrage you. Where were the guilty verdicts for the people who were setting the Portland City Hall on fire, who ran through Chicago looting stores and setting cars on fire? But this?
Stop! You violated the law.
I mean, they didn't get caught, or there wasn't enough evidence. I mean, our legal system is, if you're saying our legal system is flawed, then do you agree with the data that shows that our legal system has an insane bias against non-white people? Like, for a long time, it was that our legal system is completely flawless, and we can always trust our legal system, and the left is just against the law and order and against the police. Law and order, back the blue, back the blue. But now all of a sudden the courts and the police are woke, and they're letting all crime get away, and it's all about rehabilitation and being nice to criminals. These people have no real positions. Their only values are, like, the left is bad and minorities are bad. That's the only consistent values they hold. Actually, the Portland City Hall thing was done by a far-right agitator during a BLM protest. He was caught and charged. That does not surprise me at all. Most of these stories that you're going to hear recited and repeated over and over again are really just going to be, like, bald-faced lies. Like, they do not care about how easy to disprove their bullshit is at this point. Have you seen someone like Brett Cooper engage in, like, one-on-one debate? Could you imagine Brett Cooper debating someone on one of the topics that she's covered? Like, she would never agree to that. That's not what she's paid for. It's not her job. That's not what she's effective at doing. Anyway, don't you like how, like, the editors at the Daily Wire now have, like, started to tailor the editing towards Zoomers with, like, the Sky... Or what is this? Oblivion? Morrowind? I think this is Morrowind. The stop, you violated the law, Morrowind meme.
Oh.
Watch this video. This, apparently, deserves 11 years in prison.
Oh, it's Oblivion. Okay. Yeah, that's the entrance to the clinic, by the way. They've literally... This is a person in a wheelchair they put in the way of of the door to get into the abortion clinic. Yes, this is against the law. Notice how they specifically charged the 6 people that are blocking the door, but not the people who aren't blocking the door. Like, it's literally these people, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I guess there's the 6th person who's recording. These 6 people are the one, and obviously the 6th person is recording their crime. These 6 people recorded their crime, a federal crime, blocking access to an abortion clinic here. Yeah, that's a crime. I know you didn't include obviously the context to this video. You just want to show them praying like they're innocent. But if you know why what they're doing is illegal, it's that is the entrance to the abortion clinic and they're blocking it, then yeah, pretty clearly a crime. And they recorded themselves doing it.
So they're sitting in front of the door, they're praying and they're singing. 6 of them. Then soon after, the FBI showed up to their homes, forcibly removed them while their significant others and their families watched, and they were charged by the DOJ. The FBI showed up to their house because of this. And
Man, it's crazy how quick Back the Blue just disappeared, man. It's so crazy how quick Back the Blue just absolutely evaporated. Just, it's gone. No more Back the Blue. The cops and the justice system are corrupt and woke now. Absolutely crazy how quick they threw the police under the bus. That's wild.
You honestly just can't make this stuff up anymore. Somebody commented and said, block a road? Nothing. Block a doorway? 11 years. I genuinely hate this country. Another person said, so they can protest where it's mostly peaceful, but when we do it...
It's illegal to block access to a medical facility. That's why it's a federal charge. And blocking a road for a protest, as long as you have A, permits, or B, can get away with it, yeah. Like, generally, the police don't have infinite resources. They don't always go after things that just didn't cause any harm. There's no, like, reason to spend the resources to go after a guy who, like, blocked the road yesterday and no one got hurt for a protest. Like, it's just... These people rely so heavily on people just not understanding the world on a very fundamental level. You have, like, you can tell from the editing, the fact that it's like a set meant to fool people into thinking it's her real bedroom, while there's also like the literal Daily Wire watermark on the bottom and a professionally made like branding on the other corner. Like, despite all of that, like you have to know most of our audience are young people and gooners.
We get treated like terrorists. Are you just learning that? Because that's been happening for a while. Remember when moms protesting at school board meetings were put on a domestic terrorist list? None of this is new. They hate us, and they do...
Okay, let's see what that's about. AG Merrick Garland tells FBI to investigate parents who yell at school officials about critical race theory. Let's look at that. Merrick Garland tells FBI to... Oh, we got a fact check. Claim. Attorney General Merrick Garland has... Oh, this is a lie from 2021. They're going back far for this one. Claim. Attorney General Merrick Garland has instructed the FBI to mobilize against parents who oppose critical race theory in public schools, citing threats. AP's assessment. False. In a memo Monday, Garland directed federal authorities to address a rise in criminal conduct targeting school board members and public school employees, following a request from the National School Boards Association. Garland did not single out critical race theory in his memo at all, and a Department of Justice press official said the claim amounted to misinformation. The facts. Garland's memo stated the FBI would work with the U.S. attorneys and federal, state, and local authorities to develop strategies to combat what he called a disturbing spike in violent threats facing educators and administrators and school boards. The trend was highlighted in a September 29th letter from the NSBA to President Joe Biden requesting federal assistance to investigate mounting threats and crimes against educators and school officials. This, of course, has been rising with the recent conservative, culture war against education, teachers, and schools. Ever since the whole critical race theory thing took off back in 2021. So yeah, she's pulling back to a pretty old lie here. Who's this writer? I'm curious where she's pulling from. Robbie Soave is a libertarian American journalist who is a senior editor for Reason and co-host for The Hill's web news commentary series program Rising. Okay, so he's a Nazgul. He's the new what was that guy's name? Sagar? He's the new Sagar on Rising, it seems. Okay. So she's citing an op-ed article by the new Sagar on Rising.
School board meetings were put on a domestic terrorist list. None of this is new. They hate us, and they do not even hide it. Matt Walsh said, the Biden administration is the most corrupt and evil regime to ever run this country. If those tyrannical pieces of shit get...
I love the immediate, like, projection. I love how quick they reveal the projection. Listen to what she says here.
None of this is new. They hate us, and they do not even hide it. Matt Walsh...
They hate us, and they don't even try to hide it. And then here's her citing her friend and co-worker, Matt Walsh, as a source, saying the left and Joe Biden is evil.
Said, the Biden administration is the most corrupt and evil regime to ever run this country. If those tyrannical pieces of shit get another 4 years, they will ramp up their political persecution, and there's a very good chance it'll be knocking on your front door before long.
They're like so in your face about how dishonest they are. The left hates you. By the way, they're evil pieces of shit. Like, just immediately, anything a conservative accuses lefties of is an admission of guilt. Always, 100% of the time, without fail.
Going to jail!
He's not wrong, but I also love Spicy Matt. I appreciate it. He also made this excellent and incredibly infuriating point, and he said this is incredible. The U.S. attorney prosecuting the pro-life activists who were just convicted and face 11 years in prison for peacefully protesting outside of a clinic actually argued in court that there is no such thing as a nonviolent crime. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is currently in the process of releasing hundreds of criminals from prison on the basis that their crimes were nonviolent. They are making legal arguments.
By the way, those are marijuana, like, possession crimes. For those that don't know, Matt Walsh, and she's not going to repeat this because that's like the rest of Matt Walsh's thread, I'm sure. Matt Walsh has numerous times tweeted about how America needs to adopt the same policy as, what is it? I forget what the name of the country is, where they kill all drug dealers, and all drug addicts. What was it? Singapore. He used Singapore as an example. For those that don't know, in Singapore, they just straight up death penalty and prison for all drug addicts and drug dealers, and like insane, like brutal public beatings as well. Matt Walsh has tweeted numerous times about how America can't be as nice as Singapore if we don't do that. So like this guy is literally in favor of like killing drug addicts. Like that's his policy on drug addicts. He's referring to Biden releasing nonviolent marijuana related crimes, like people who are in prison for that. He's demonizing that because he wants them dead. Absolutely crazy. Got to keep the mask on though with the Brett Cooper video because her content's meant to be normie bait.
Totally arbitrarily, depending on the politics of the situation. Full-on Soviet-style corruption and persecution. And that is what I meant when I said at the beginning that the justice system is no longer about justice. It is no longer about objective truth and
absolutely wild Soviet-style persecution. Literally, Tucker Carlson is on his way to Moscow right now to, like, ride Putin's dick in an interview. That's going to be, like, passed around and glorified by the right. You guys know what's happening right now, right? Like, Tucker Carlson's going to Moscow to do, like, a puff piece on Putin that the right's gonna, like, glorify and talk about. You know, Putin's actually a pretty nice guy once it comes out. I'm so ready for it. For the right to just be explicitly pro-Russia.
Trying to find the truth. No, it is about sending a message to people that they hate. This lawyer, her exact line was, something is not peaceful if laws are broken. Again, okay, I ask, are you comfortable saying that the BLM riots were not mostly peaceful? I'll wait, because I doubt you'll acknowledge that. And I know...
Where's the citation on that? Let's okay. BLM riots were not peaceful. Here, we'll search with the benefit of the doubt. Okay, even if you search BLM riots were not peaceful with that exact wording, using the term BLM riots and were not peaceful, the first result is 93% of Black Lives Matter protests have been peaceful. You just can't escape reality, can you? The vast majority of Black Lives Matter protests, more than 93%, have been peaceful, according to a new report published Thursday by a nonprofit that researches political violence and protests across the world. The Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACLED, analyzed more than 7,750 Black Lives Matter demonstrations in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. that took place in the wake of George Floyd's death between May 26th and August 22nd. The report states that more than 2,400 locations reported peaceful protests, while fewer than 220 reported violent demonstrations. The authors define violent demonstrations as including acts targeting other individuals, property, this includes property, by the way. So we're not even talking about like people getting hurt. We're in this like statistic of the violent protests that happen, we're including property crime, which we already know makes up the vast majority of this protest crime. Property, businesses, and other rioting groups or armed actors. So this isn't even just BLM being violent as well. This is other groups arriving and causing violence too, is what this accounts for with the 7% that were seen as violent, or less than 7%. Their definition includes anything from fighting back against police to vandalism, property destruction, looting, road blocking, using barricades, burning tires or other materials. In cities where protests did turn violent, these demonstrations are, quote, largely confined to specific blocks, the report says. So even where violence took place, it's very, very small scale, and in no way the burning down cities and destroying cities that conservatives described it as. You have to understand, they've been doing this like very successfully since 2014, where it's like, here's a video of a single street like front being destroyed in a protest and claiming that's what's happening for blocks and blocks and blocks. And they don't even have to claim it. People just fill in the blanks. They watch a video where one building is on fire, or one car is on fire, and even though it's like a vertical video where you can see like a 40-degree like view of what's happening around the camera, they fill in the blanks with their minds that everything around the camera, the same thing is happening, right? Right-wing pundits don't even have to say it. They just share the videos, and people have a tendency to fill in the blanks and assume it's all the same chaos everywhere, even around where the video is taking place, where you can't see.
I know that we say this all the time, but we truly live in the upside down because criminals are treated with kid gloves. Lewd and indecent people having sex in a Senate hearing and were let off and even celebrated.
We literally just, like, what state just had its first, like, capital punishment execution just recently? Like, more than ever, we're seeing states go back to, like, executing criminals right now, and this lady is delusionally arguing we live in, like, kid gloves for criminals land. Absolutely wild. These people live in La La Land. Just simple as that. There's no other way to describe it. The fans of these people must actually be children. I don't know any other explanation.
For their bravery and their bold sexuality, violent protesters are turned into martyrs. But concerned moms speaking up at a school board meeting, oh no, they're domestic terrorists. Fighting back in self-defense in a blue city, you are the violent one. We're going to charge you. Praying and literally peacefully protesting, which is an American
I love how every example she's brought up in this video, we've definitively proven a lie.
right. Oh no, you will get arrested by the FBI and charged by the DOJ. It does not make sense. We can make jokes about this administration all the time because they are a laughingstock. But this is serious. This is not freedom, and it is certainly not justice. Voting has consequences. Rolling over and letting them walk all over us for years until this point has consequences.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, so, for the record, by the way, the amount of lies we've debunked in this video pales in comparison to, like, peak PragerU. Back when I had to, like, fact-check every sentence, and it would be a, like, blatant lie. They would show, like, a made-up chart where it's, like, happiness, communism, charted out, like, happiness goes down as communism goes up. I'd be like, okay, let's search that up. Obviously, that's, like, a funny example that is real, but not, or, like, one that I, like, fact-checked. But, like, they would give an example, oh, God, what's a good example of when PragerU blatantly lied? God, I haven't covered in PragerU in, like, a year. Obviously, the best example of comparison is Blair White, who famously lies, like, constantly, nonstop, and only a few examples of it happening have gotten her canceled or in trouble. The Janae Marie Kroc drama was, like, a big one that got a lot of attention, but the Canadian Cancer Society clipping she did to try to lie to her audience and claim trans women can't get cervical cancer if they've had bottom surgery was fucking vile and blatant and shameless. But that's really what it's all about with these people, lying. Or that time she faked her political compass test results. That was hilarious, too. God, these people are just soulless husks. Demons. If demons are real and, like, crazy conservative Christians are, like, right, they are the demons. So it would be ironic that they'd be warning us all about themselves this whole time, but hey, it is what it is.